tonight, reimagining London's busiest road. Despite concerns, the Mayor is pressing ahead with his plans to pedestrianise Oxford Street.
What we could do, the principle of pedestrianising Oxford Street, retail, culture, leisure.
So it's not the pedestrianisation, it's the impact of the pedestrianisation that is the problem.
Also on the programme, a brazen bike theft. Another cyclist is targeted at one of the capital's most notorious theft spots. Plus, 50 years on from the Underground's worst ever crash, the enduring mystery of the Moorgate disaster. And hanging up his fire boots, Sherlock, the longest-serving fire dog, retires from duty. Good evening. It's a concept that's been debated for close to a decade, but today the pedestrianisation of Oxford Street moved a step closer to becoming a reality. Since being elected mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan has fought his case to remove all traffic to encourage more footfall. He was blocked by Westminster's previous Conservative-led council, but with Labour in charge in both local and national government, he now just has to win over the public. Carolyn Sim reports.
In recent years, people have looked down on Oxford Street, saying it's lost its bustle and buzz and some big flagship stores. But now the Mayor's determined to rejuvenate the nation's high street by taking control of the area and pedestrianising it.
Just imagine what we could do, the principle of pedestrianising Oxford Street, retail, culture, leisure coming together, but also growth. These shops will do much, much better. We attract more visitors from around the country, but also from across the globe.
This isn't the first time the Mayor's tried to pedestrianise Oxford Street. These plans in 2017 were rejected. This time he wants to create a so-called mayoral development corporation seen within the red lines, which would take decision-making power away from councils.
Shouldn't you be the ones to do this development though?
Ultimately, we had a scheme ready to go that would be starting on site around now, but the Mayor has obviously set out a broader ambition that includes pedestrianisation, and obviously we recognise that's where he is, and we're working pragmatically to try and make sure that the outcome here meets the needs of everyone, with the views of local residents considered too.
Businesses and retailers are happy with the proposals. They want a plan and a vision which will stick.
So what do you think it's going to look like in, say, 5 years' time?
Goodness, well, I hope it's done. We've been talking about it for so long. I think that's the other key thing, is we want something done, and we want something done quickly so that we can unlock the growth, get the jobs into Oxford Street that the whole of the UK really needs.
But there are concerns about access, public transport, policing and, of course, traffic.
It's just going to push all the traffic up that way, and it's going to be a nightmare for everyone getting around.
There are no side streets that are the side, that will take all of this, and that's what's going to cause problems. So it's not the pedestrianisation, it's the impact of the pedestrianisation that is the problem.
So how can that be mitigated?
Well, the Mayor needs to listen to the residents, listen to the residents' associations, and listen to the council.
What most people can agree on, however, is that Oxford Street does need investment and to attract more flagship stores. People have until May the 2nd to let the Mayor know if they want him to take control of the project and do it his way.
Carolyn's on Oxford Street now. Carolyn, when might we see these plans completed then?
Well, the Mayor wanted to create this development corporation so that he could take away any delays associated with planning decisions. But if it goes ahead, it won't be in place until January 2026. Some questions are being asked about whether Oxford Street's a suitable place for one as well. It's usually in brownfield sites that need developed, like at the Olympic Park. Of course, Westminster City Council already had plans in place to improve Oxford Street. They were due to start in spring this year. That's all now been swept away, and the Mayor hopes that his plans will get approved. He has got government backing, and he hopes he'll breathe new life now into Oxford Street.
Carolyn, thank you. A cyclist who was forced off his £4,000 bike by a thief wielding a hammer has said he's scared to continue cycling in the city. Patrick Keneally had his bicycle stolen in Regent's Park, an area cyclists claim has become a hotspot for criminals, robbing people of their bikes early in the morning before police officers begin their patrols. Cafe Patter has more.
It was meant to be a leisurely commute through Regent's Park, and then this happened. Armed robbers stop a cyclist by the side of the road, reach into their moped and bring out a hammer. He tries to stop them, but realises he is cornered and outnumbered. In less than a minute, the bike worth over £4,000 is stolen.
It's scary stuff just watching it, but you actually experienced it. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, horrendous. To think being in a park in the centre of London in broad daylight to be threatened with a hammer. It's really scary. I've not been back yet.
And of course, those are points in the video where you attempted to, it seemed like you thought about challenging the robbers, but then you reconsidered. What was going through your head at that point?
I mean, not a huge amount of thought process, I don't think, getting into it. But I thought the one thing is that if I could delay them maybe a little bit, then maybe someone would come.
The Metropolitan Police said investigating officers immediately conducted foot patrols to look for witnesses and searched CCTV records. However, due to the suspects being masked, they could not be identified and no further action could be taken. What happened to Patrick isn't an isolated incident. Cyclists who frequent this area say they've seen a huge spike in these robberies since last September. And across the capital, around 18,000 bike thefts are reported each year.
Theft and personal safety undoubtedly put people off cycling. Surveys I've seen show that 2/3 of people think that theft and personal safety are the reason that they don't wish to cycle. It's the number 2 reason for not cycling after road danger.
After this daylight bike robbery, police are now carrying out plainclothes patrols in the Regent's Park area. And they're assessing whether what's happened to Patrick is linked to other bike thefts at the start of the year.
You raised a very good point about essentially being a sitting duck. Is there anything you think you could have done or you could do now moving forward to prevent yourself from being in that situation again?
No, I mean, the only thing that I think is riding in groups.
The insurance payments Patrick received after he was robbed allowed him to purchase a new bike. However, one thing that can't be returned is his trust that he is safe while cycling. Cafe Patter, ITV News.
3 teenagers have been arrested on suspicion of grievous bodily harm after a 75-year-old man died in Islington. The victim, thought to be a Bolivian national, was allegedly attacked in Seven Sisters Road late yesterday evening. 3 girls aged 14, 16 and 17 remain in custody. Elsewhere, a murder investigation is underway following the death of a 45-year-old woman in Ealing. Police were called to a property on Jubilee Road at 20 to 2 this morning after reports of a disturbance. The woman died at the scene. A 49-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of murder. He remains in police custody. A man who beat a chef and left him to die outside a restaurant near Notting Hill Carnival has been sentenced to at least 18 years in prison. Omar Wilson attacked Monsieur Mnetu outside a restaurant in Queensway in August last year. Mnetu died in hospital 4 days later from the assault. And 3 Met police officers will face a misconduct hearing later this year after allegedly forcing a 15-year-old girl to expose intimate parts of her body during a stop and search at a school in Hackney in 2020. The officers were accused of searching the girl, known only as Child Q, in a way that was unjustified, inappropriate and degrading. The search was also allegedly conducted without authorisation and in the absence of an appropriate adult. 50 years ago, during the morning rush hour, a Northern City Line tube train crashed into a wall at Moorgate Station. It remains the worst peacetime accident on the Underground, claiming the lives of 43 people. Today, a service was held in memory of those who died, including Bernard Marks. His son Lawrence was sent to investigate the story as a junior reporter. At the time, he had no idea his father was one of the victims. Yasmin Boldubay spoke to him and others touched by the tragedy.
In the shadow of one of the fire engines that raced to the scene that day, a piper marks 50 years since the worst catastrophe in the city since the Blitz.
Janet Cook, Alfred Corking, Charles Gale.
Relatives and those who tried to save their loved ones listen as the names of those who perished were read out. 43 people who just jumped on the tube and had plans for later.
It was my dad's birthday, so I remember we were waiting at the table with the cake, waiting for him to come home, and he didn't.
My world fell apart. I just went dizzy and I fell to the floor.
I just remember my mum screaming when she heard the news, and that was that.
As news spread, overground the public queued to give blood, while below their feet hundreds of emergency service workers struggled in the heat and the dark.
The sights, the sounds, the smells, the carnage will always be with me.
Firefighter Frank was with a woman who could only be rescued after her foot was amputated.
Before she went to sleep, the doctor said, "Look, you're going to sleep, Margaret. When you wake up, you'll be in a nice bed." And she said, "Who's going to take me out?" And he said, "They're all fighting to do it."
Among the throngs of reporters at the scene watching coffins going into the station was Lawrence Marks, unaware that one of those coffins was for his own father. Even though he became part of the story, he continued to report on it for months.
Every day I got up to had another interview to see another person involved in it. And I thought, well, I'm getting closer to the truth. Better than many people who are here today that have no idea why their relatives died. At least I knew what happened, I knew where he was.
So as we were going down, one of the crew from Barbican was coming up the centre console.
And someone who was able to give him that information was firefighter Brian.
We were calling him the city gent. And he stood out like nothing because he was still sitting in his seat. But he had people up to here. You see things, you deal with it professionally, but there's always a little bit or a lot of it that goes with you. And Moorgate is one of them for me.
The memories of that day as sharp as they were 50 years ago, and the feelings still as raw. Yasmin Boldubay, ITV News.
Still to come on the programme, East End duo Arthur Smith and Phil Nice will be here to talk about their return to the Soho Theatre, and
you can be the next champion.
I want him off my bench.
Ashley Walters on directing a new series showcasing the gritty underworld of Victorian London. But first, almost 8 years after serving with the London Fire Brigade at Grenfell, one of the unit's fire safety dogs has retired. Sherlock, the working Cocker Spaniel, has served the brigade for 12 years, specialising in sniffing out accelerants to slow the spread and limit the devastation of fires. Now, following a career of awards and meeting royalty, Sherlock will be taking a well-earned break in the care of his handler. Here's Anton Allen.
Sherlock's long shift has finally come to an end.
Good lad.
The Cocker Spaniel's 12 years working with his handler Paul Osborne has made him the London Fire Brigade's longest serving fire investigation dog. But what made Sherlock such a good fire dog?
Even the lead examiner for the country said this dog is phenomenal at what he does. It was me that needed the extra learning and extra training.
Whilst dressed in his little boots and jacket, Sherlock's keen nose has helped Paul investigate fires, such as the Grenfell Tower fire, where 72 people lost their lives. Sherlock helped to rule out the possible cause of the blaze.
At the time we weren't sure, but we wanted to be able to disprove or prove whether it had or hadn't. So our fire investigation dogs were absolutely invaluable in allowing us to identify that an ignitable liquid hadn't been used and hadn't been responsible for the development of Grenfell fire.
The role of a fire investigation dog is often to search and identify the smell of flammable substances. They work alongside their handler to learn and hone this important skill through their love of retrieving tennis balls. LFB says the dog's safety remains a priority. They aren't running into burning buildings.
Lots of people see these boots and they think that they're fire protective and we're going to send a dog into a blazing building, but it's not quite like the movies. So it is very much about Sherlock and our other dogs, Simba and Smokey. They are very important to us and we will not ever put them into harm's way.
In recent years, Sherlock has taken on an ambassador role. The dog was only 10 weeks old when he joined the fire service. He's now 100 years old in dog years. Paul will continue his important work with the service, even though Sherlock's time has come to an end.
It's made me realise that the ambassadorial role and engaging with our communities is probably the biggest piece that I'll miss the most.
Despite hanging up his boots, his time with Paul isn't over. Instead of being an investigation team, Sherlock will simply be Paul's dog and live in his home. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
Next tonight, a double act with a show about age, friendship, love and regret. Arthur Smith and Phil Nice have been working together on and off for decades. Their new show arrives in Soho with rave reviews from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. But here is them in action in the 80s.
How much would you give for a cup of tea now, Phil?
Don't want a cup of tea.
Yes, but how much would you give?
Nothing.
You can't get a cup of tea for nothing.
Well, that's all right, because I don't want one.
The Loch Ness Monster may exist. There have been many sightings of it, some of them made by reputable scientists.
What a load of rubbish.
Let me put it another way, Arthur. We're both being paid £3,000 to try and find out if it does exist.
Yes, well, it doesn't make me too sceptical, does it? Yes, I think I could be convinced, actually.
Arthur and Phil, welcome to you both. You pioneered the celebrity travelogue, didn't you?
Yeah, you're right. We were way ahead of the game, weren't we?
You need
so young.
Yeah, I mean, now it's all trains and camper vans, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Anyway, tell us about your new show, which, do I say this right? It's Oof.
Oof. Yes. Yeah. It's, well, it's. I think of it as like a cross between Waiting for Godot and Morecambe and Wise. It's sort of two old men meet on a bench. And then we chat and compare notes about what it's like, how we've been, and then slowly realise that we actually know each other and that we were once in a double act. And then we reprise a little bits of the double act, and then we have a big row, and then off we go.
What are the themes then that you're trying to explore in this?
Well, I think friendship is kind of the key to it, really, and a friendship that has gone a bit astray as well, I think. Yeah, and meeting up with your old friends years after you've seen them, if you haven't seen them for a long time, and then revive a friendship too. Yeah. I mean, we have a big falling out during the course of it, and we compare notes on the ridiculous business of growing old. Yeah.
So, Phil, I mean, the inevitable question then, is that inspired in any way from your long relationship?
I think it's clear that we're kind of both not in the bloom of our youth. So I mean, we're experiencing the kind of growing old, and but there was a period when because we split up as a double act after that TV series, and I went and did solo stand up and wrote some plays, and Phil went off and did other stuff. So it's like a reunion with a bit of anger. Yeah, we diverged and we converged again, you know. So
because you've had interesting careers, as you say, that have sort of worked in parallel between comedy and writing and radio, film and television. Yeah. As friends growing older, did you ever look to each other's careers and think, oh gosh, I wish I could do that? Or, you know, sometimes we do that with friends, don't we?
Yeah, well, Phil's does a pub quiz, and I wish I could do that. Really. Yes, I do a pub quiz every week. I run it. You know. I'm the quiz. Go on, give him a question. Oh God, no, I can't. What's the capital of Venezuela?
Caracas.
Well done. Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's better than my London knowledge anyway. I shouldn't say that, should I? Better. It's called Oof, isn't it? Yeah. Why is it called Oof?
Well, when you sort of realise you're getting old, is kind of a physical thing, really, because you find yourself, you're standing up or sitting down, and you go, oof, like that.
But when you both sat down, you didn't do that when we were playing your highlights.
No, well,
it was seamless.
No, exactly. Well,
He's a bigger offer than I am, to be honest.
I don't know about that.
I don't want to know about anyone's tendencies. Arthur, you've long been an ambassador for Balham. Are you still flying the flag for South London, or has it changed too much for you?
No, I am the mayor of Balham, nightmare. I don't do days. And so I take it very seriously when I proclaim myself mayor of Balham in Sainsbury's car park. And Balham is the finest place on earth. I mean, I've been everywhere in the world, but there's nowhere as lovely as Balham.
It's changed a lot, though, hasn't it, though? I mean, once you get that certain fancy supermarket, places change. Balham did.
Well, I must admit, there are now over 400 million coffee shops in Balham. And there were only 2 when I first moved in. So, yeah, it's gone a bit upmarket these days. And I feel sorry for young people who can't really afford to live there anymore. I mean,
you got in when the time was good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I fly the flag for Nunhead, which is in South East London. So we're both South Londoners.
I love that you're both representing.
Yes.
So you are at the Soho Theatre early April, aren't you? 3rd, 4th and 5th.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's going to be a wonderful show, I'm sure. Listen, enjoy, and thank you so much for coming in. It's called at the Soho Theatre.
We hope you're going to be there, Doug.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers, Arthur and Phil. Finally, it's being compared to Peaky Blinders, but rather than Birmingham, new streaming drama 1,000 Blows is set in the East End during the 1880s. Helping to bring the dark tale of crime, gangs and boxing to the screen is a familiar face, well known for getting gritty drama out of the city's back streets. Ashley Walters, who stars in and directs episodes of the drama, sat down exclusively with ITV News London. Here's Helen Keenan.
London, the Lion's Den.
The East End during the Victorian era. The backdrop for new series 1,000 Blows.
My name is Mary Cobb, Queen of the 40 Elephants, the biggest gang of female thieves in the whole of London.
That follows friends arriving from Jamaica and the murky underworld of boxing in the capital.
Part of history that I didn't have too much knowledge about. It was amazing to hear about Hezekiah Moscow, Alec Monroe, Sugar Goodson, all these great historical figures that existed. And actually helped to push boxing forward in the way that we know it now.
Peckham-born Ashley Walters features in the series, but directs several episodes.
It's a completely different kind of discipline, I guess. As a director, it's full on for you. You're in from start to finish.
Is it good to have an understanding from both sides?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think that was my superpower, really, was having that experience and completely understanding kind of how actors feel and what they're going through. And now, kind of going back into acting when I do, I annoy the directors that I work with a lot less.
We can't start a full-blown war now, bro. It's going to be chaos.
Widely known for his acting, he also starred in another London-focused series, Top Boy. And while 1,000 Blows is based in a different decade in the capital, he told us there are still similarities to be drawn between then and now.
Funnily enough, the Tube was being talked about around this same time, which is crazy. There's not much comparisons in a sense of like the way we lived, but emotionally, like love, jealousy, like anger, hate, all of those things are big themes in 1,000 Blows. Those are timeless kind of issues that we can all relate to, whether it's 2025 or 1880.
A period drama that packs a punch. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
On to the weekend weather now, and the sun came out today, didn't it? And it made a huge difference, and there is more as the weekend progresses. Here's Nick Miller now with the forecast.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors ITV London weekend weather.
Hello, our weather has a foot in 2 seasons at the moment. Those cold, wintry starts, pleasant spring-like afternoons in the sunshine. On that theme, we go into the weekend. It'll stay dry, loads of sunshine to come, cold, frosty nights with a risk of fog as well. And whilst we're talking about the seasons, a bit of admin here. Tomorrow marks the start of meteorological spring, the first of the 3 months, which for statistical purposes make up the season. I know some of you will haggle and say it's the equinox, which is the start of spring. Well, this year that comes on the 20th of the month. But however you look at it, the seasons are changing, and for the first weekend of March, it's high pressure. That's why it's settled. Weather front sinking southwards will bring us a bit more cloud towards the end of the day tomorrow. But other than that, it's a fine weekend to come and high pressure lasting into next week as well. And clear skies into tonight, so temperatures drop away, a widespread frost developing and a greater chance through the night and into tomorrow morning of fog patches developing. So bear that in mind if you've got an early journey and away from the immediate city centre, temperatures at or several degrees below freezing. So it will be cold first thing, it will be foggy in places. Bear with it though, we'll break out into the sunshine and stay that way for most of the day, just turning a bit hazy into the afternoon as high cloud increases from the north. But in the sunshine, just a light breeze. Despite the cold start, it will feel pleasant, spring-like again as we get to about 10 degrees. There'll be another frost overnight Saturday and into Sunday. High pressure still close by though on Sunday. So once any early fog patches clear away, there'll be plenty of sunshine once again. And into next week, we stay settled, we stay dry, and it turns a bit milder as well.
TUI sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
And that is it for now. The evening news is next with Lucrezia. From all of us on the London team, thank you for watching. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.